Earlier, I also mentioned the zero error. Now, we already know by now what the zero error is and how to calculate it for a vernier caliper. Let's now get into finding the zero error of a micrometer screw gauge. We start by closing the gap of the screw gauge as shown on the figure on this side. The main scale gives the reading of 0 millimeters. The circular scale reading is taken by multiplying the division number with the least count of the instrument. Hence, the circular scale reading is 24 multiplied by 0.01 millimeter, which is equal to 0.24 millimeter. This means that the zero error of the screw gauge is the main scale reading plus the circular scale reading, which is 0 millimeters plus 0.24 millimeters is equal to 0.24 millimeter. So now, the zero correction of the screw gauge becomes minus 0.24 millimeters. We then move on to the task at hand, finding the diameter of the wire. If we look at the figure again, the main scale reading is 1 millimeter. When the given wire is pressed by the stud and spindle of the screw gauge, the number of divisions on the circular scale are 85. Hence, the circular scale reading is 85 multiplied by the least count, which is 0.01 millimeters, which is equal to 0.85 millimeters. So, the observed diameter of the wire is found by adding the main scale reading and the circular scale reading, which is 1 millimeter plus 0.85 millimeters is equal to 1.85 millimeters. Now, if you recall from our last video, we calculated the correct reading of the vernier caliper by subtracting the observed diameter of the cylinder from the zero correction. Similarly, here we will subtract the observed diameter of the wire from the zero correction to obtain the correct diameter of the wire, which is 1.85 millimeters minus 0.24 millimeters, and this leaves us with 1.61 millimeters. Thus, diameter of the given wire is 1.61 millimeters. That was a lot of information, wasn't it? Come, let's recap what we have learned about the least count of the different measuring instruments. So, we know by now that the least count ruler is 1 millimeter. However, for the vernier calipers, it is 0.1 millimeters, and for the micrometer screw gauge, it is 0.01 millimeters. So, this means that all measurements taken by a micrometer screw gauge are the most precise. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the micrometer screw gauge. I hope you all have understood well. There's a lot more to learn, so stay tuned.